$8.5 trillion missing from the Pentagon. Catherine Austin Fitts talks about it a lot, as does Joseph P. Farrell. We know that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes in the banking world and in the top secret off-book black budget program. How many of the UFOs people see around the world are actually of terrestrial origin? I'm going to play two absolute must-watch clips here. In the first clip, Mulder, played by David Duchovny, and a journalist played by Joel McHale are shown a terrestrial UFO that was reverse engineered from a found UFO. Of course, going back to Area 51. Watch this.
Okay, guys, Area 51 and all that malarkey, yeah, certainly it does exist, and yet they're probably tinkering with a lot of technology, clones and hybrids, and with dimensional beings, which would be jinn, the shayateen element of that, makhluk, of that creation, of those beings. But over here, he just mentioned that they've reverse engineered, and that's what I wanted to focus on. I certainly feel there may be credence to reverse engineering, but not necessarily by extraterrestrial crafts from extraterrestrial beings, but rather technology that was found from past nations, right? And discovered from other past nations who were far more advanced than us. And certainly there's Islamic text that's replete with the suggestion that they were very, very, very far advanced than what we are and what we'll ever be, and very much capable than what we were. So there's no reason to believe if they were, then they hadn't really understood the sort of energy that we're only scratching the surface on. And it goes back all the way to, I guess, goodness me, what's this scientist called? Tesla, right? And the sort of experiments he was doing, and that sort of technology where energy was being drawn from the ley lines of the earth and other natural energy sources, magnetic sources that were available, and how to manipulate that and use that. I mean, there's a lot of suggestion that that sort of technology was used in Egypt as well, subhanallah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but you know, research is pointing towards that sort of technology being available to them. So when they mention extraterrestrials and their technology being reverse engineered, my position is that it's advanced nations that used to exist before during man's devolution from the top end all the way down. These nations were far more advanced than what we are today, and far more capable intellectually than what we are today. And maybe perhaps it's their technology that's been reverse engineered. Understand that Shaitan Lanatullahi alayhi every so often will take you to a certain stage of the truth and then take you on a detour from that at some point. I mean, that pattern, it's replete throughout everything, until it's almost like compartmentalization of knowledge, right? Where you're on a need-to-know basis, and what you need to know, they'll let you learn and find out perhaps, and then take you off on a detour onto a different trajectory deliberately when you reach a certain plateau, because you're not meant to know, right? Until you progress and maybe you've been initiated into that other area of knowledge. So I mean, it seems like that's how the degrees work in Masonry as well. Until you get to the top, you don't really realize what the agenda is, what you're signing up for, and who you're swearing allegiance to.
It's running on toroidal energy, so-called zero-point energy, simply the energy of the universe.
You're talking about free energy?
That we've had since the 40s. No fuel, no flame, no combustion. Simple electromagnetic field. Technology kept secret for 70 years while the world...
So interesting about this technology. I've been studying it for a while now, a long time again, as far back as I've been studying this phenomena in terms of the binary star system having having merged with our solar system. And zero-point energy was something that, again, I was very interested in, subhanAllah. In fact, one of the first businesses when I returned back from the UAE, Arab Emirates, was a business that I named Zero Point, which was inspired from this sort of energy that actually comes from nothing. It's again, I'll just let the guy elaborate further on it.
Ran on petroleum.
Oil companies making trillions.
What I'm going to show you next is the most unbelievable part.
Now, they need the petroleum system to exist simply because that's what creates the grid, the system, as it were, the capitalist system of barter and exchange. Right, it's an important part. It's not just the paper money, but rather oil is actually, well, paper money is actually pegged against it. It gives it intrinsic value. They required that in order to manipulate and control the capitalist system. It's a very integral part of that. You need to understand that and maybe perhaps study how that actually functions in terms of monetary economics. It's a very important aspect, and you'll come to understand how the elite deliberately have kept this technology away from us, simply because, as I understand it, it's going to be technology being made available to stage this grand appearance of Dajjal Lanatullah alayhi, the Antichrist, and what will precede him in terms of softening the introduction, the grand appearance, as it were, right, which is a false extraterrestrial contact. So that technology that they would come with has to be seemingly far more advanced than the technology we have available here on terrestrial Earth. And it's got to basically defy the laws of physics as we understand it. So they've deliberately kept this technology away from us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, so that they can convincingly pull this off. The whole vanishing trick, that shouldn't surprise us at all. We've already done a vlog on this, and that sort of technology has been developing for a long, long time now, and it's readily available. You don't have to do much research in way of research to find out that they already are using this sort of technology with their soldiers on Black Ops, where they have these sort of almost like Harry Potter type of cloaks where they can disappear and reappear. It's just an illusion, to be honest with you, and it's the trick of the eye and light and how it's deflected. Again, there's a vlog on the channel which was uploaded a long time ago, which basically elaborates on how the system is being hidden from us and how it's light and it's been redirected, as it were. Using lenses so that we don't really see these objects above us when they are above us. Every now and then, certainly the technology isn't bulletproof, and some people, or some locations, they can't cover everything at the same time. So in some locations, some people actually capture these anomalies above our skies, and that's what we've been seeing people post in terms of pictures and videos that they're taking when they see all these planets and maybe perhaps star or the brown dwarf star above our horizon somewhere.
Gravity warp drive, but how? Element 150, Ununpenti.
Where did you get it? This warrants a little bit of exploration and explanation. I would imagine for most X-File fans, Element 115 is something they're probably familiar with. But for those who have forgotten, Element 115 is an element that Bob Lazar, back in 1989, famous Area 51 whistleblower Bob Lazar, claimed was the element responsible for terrestrial UFOs. It's the element that powered the UFO.
Okay, Bob Lazar's known in research circles, as this individual who was a physicist, a very, very competent one, a very, very high-level one, who was working on this technology of anti-gravitational propulsion systems, and also with these hybrid beings that they were creating, clones of, which I think is reminiscent of these small-type grey aliens, as we're conventionally led to believe. And Bob Lazar actually tried to make public this conspiracy that was taking place in the shadow government concerning this whole issue. And I think he was silenced. There's certainly a lot of information floating around. Again, do your research, look him up, Bob Lazar, and see what you find on this guy. Yeah, there was a very eerie call that he actually made from a phone booth really concerned and anxious about um, him being killed or murdered by these people that he was blowing the whistle on. And what he had to share again was very disconcerting about this sort of technology that they've been developing and what they have got in mind and planned and schemed.
And what's absolutely crazy about that 1989 claim is that just recently, in the past couple of years, element 115 was officially added to the table of periodic elements along with the atomic numbers of 113, 117, and 118. Now in this next clip, we need to talk about what the elite like to do, which is to hide in plain sight, to tell us exactly what they're going to do before they do it. I won't say another word. Listen to this.
They've done that in several movies as well. Apparently in Masonry they call it, it's not gentlemanly to let your opponent know, to not let your opponent know what you intend to be doing. So they're I guess, it helps them sleep at night, as it were, that they've kind of made it open, but it's not necessarily public because it's hidden, although in plain sight, but still not many are discerning enough to pick these sort of subtleties up. And why they do that, Allahu Alam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but they do it, and we've seen that, and we've seen it in many situations. The latest example I gave you and I've provided to you guys is the cover of the Economist for 2017, where they talk about the two churches being divided, the Tower card, and then you've got the Trump card leaning on them. You've got other cards of death and change and many other, the Star card, and we discussed that at length, and how in fact the Rothschilds owned part of the Economist, and it was the front cover of the Economist, and how they were touting the European Union again collapsing as well, the TTP, which we've already seen Donald Trump do soon after that vlog was uploaded. It seems like they certainly, and all of these things make it very obvious, even the Turkish president opening up the floodgates and letting the migrants come into Europe, and then the fall and the collapse. All of this seems to be scripted and manufactured very carefully, and then they make it known to the public indirectly because they feel it's not gentlemanly not to. And this is how it's done, where they're speaking allegories and riddles and labyrinths, and but it's when you see, you'll see, subhanallah, at least I see the patterns, subhanallah, and I'm sure you guys see it too as well, subhanallah. And it's not just the patterns; it's actually happening. You've seen that right now. Merkel has been pleading Erdogan from Turkey to not open the floodgates, and there's all these threats, and it seems to be a massive issue at the moment in Europe, and they seem to be coming in, and you've seen the news channels replete with it as well. And they're just creating a fear kind of environment from a situation that they've created themselves. I mean, their countries were bombed. They had no choice. It's not safe to be where they are. So, I mean, again, all of this, the deliberate displacement of these individuals just so that Israel can complete its Greater Israeli project and expand into those biblical territories. It's all by design, subhanAllah. And it becomes quite obvious what's happening and what's being done. But what we see on the cover, again, they've also suggested a nuclear explosion in one of the cards. So, I mean, we're expecting something like that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But you've seen the rhetoric anyway, the war games and the sort of rumors, as it were, of war. And this momentum taking place with China as well, concerning the South China Seas. And then you've got Russia and their ships neighboring waters very close to United States, around about 90 miles, I guess, from their borders. And then you've got the same with the UK and Europe. And then you've got Iran doing their military exercises. You've got North Korea flexing their muscles at the moment as well. And then you've got India and Pakistan and their threats taking place. There's so much going on globally. It's very, very, very. It's a matter of someone pressing the button, And all of that, again, I think is deliberate and by design. I'm not aware of any leader, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, who isn't playing their part in this structure. It's just a tension dialectic that's playing out as we speak right now globally. And again, all of it's by design. They're just coercing the masses. We're the flock, the herd, and they just feel like we're not intelligent enough to be able to ascertain what's happening, what's being done to us, whilst they rule and govern us by proxy.
Why do such a thing and lie about it? Our own government.
Your own government lies as a matter of course, as a matter of policy. The Tuskegee experiments on black men in the 30s, Henrietta Lacks.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece.
But it's not hard to imagine. A government hiding, hoarding alien technology for 70 years. At the expense...
Okay, alien technology again, just so I can re-emphasize, and I just have to do this every time just so that I'm not misunderstood. Someone might just tune in for the first time and misunderstand what's being conveyed here. That alien technology, I would replace that with past nations who are far more intelligent and far more capable than us, who tarried here on Earth, not outside of Earth, and had those capabilities gifted to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were very, very intelligent, strong, and in every respect they were more superior than what we are, and we've devolved through time to who we are, and we're not really evolved from apes as the Darwinist theory and the popular theory that's pushed down our throats by academia is the false one, of course.
Of human life and the future of the planet, driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective:
the takeover of America,
and then the world itself.
The darker objective again is, like I said, I've always maintained that they're going to take down the states first. When they do that, there's going to be an economic collapse. It's going to be followed by war, or war's going to come first, one or the other, but or at the same time. To be honest with you, there's no reason to believe why it wouldn't. And then all of this and all the disasters that would follow during the exit of this system and everything else that we've discussed, they've got planned in the science PDF. It seems, following all of that, out of that chaos, they want to create order, and that order will be at least a considerably smaller populace globally to govern, and to govern them under one umbrella. And that is the stage for the Antichrist, the Jalal, to basically take the reins over from. So their job is to basically set the stage for his Lanatullahi alayhi's cursed arrival.
Means necessary, however violent, or cruel, or efficient. By severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves.
Okay, we've talked about this, haven't we? Aerial contaminant, we're talking about geoengineering, chemtrails, we've discussed this at length. I've talked about how it's got holographic technology as well, and they use barium, aluminum, and many other particulates in that. In fact, they even use it, and they will potentially use it to make airborne these diseases that they've been developing in the laboratory. Again, the whole idea is bringing about this kind of global pandemic using these sort of how would you say, they're orchestrating an apocalypse, by the just, you know, I mean, what they're doing is trying to cleanse the earth, you know, from the surplus numbers of humanity, and they're going to use a viral contagion as one of the ways of doing it, which has been developed in the laboratory. We've discussed the sort of contagions they've already been developing in the Pentagon, and I've shared this vlog with you guys. Again, all of this seems to be coming together, and at the same time it's coming to a head, that they've got this in mind and they're staging it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best again. And yes, he's talked about magnetic technology as well. That's HAARP, by the way, where they ionize the atmosphere and manipulate the weather to make it rain and drought. And again, that's the technology that will be available. Again, just like zero-point energy, that's the sort of technology that will be made available to Dajjal, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
In a state of perpetual war, to create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home, with tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act which abridged the Constitution in the name of national security. The militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., the building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose, the corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military and clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government preparing to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
The takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cull, kill, and subjugate.
Happening as we sit here.
It's happening all around us.
The other shoe waiting to drop.
It'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action necessitating their computers to go offline all weekend.
Digital money will disappear,
They can just steal your money?
followed by the detonation of strategic electromagnetic pulse bombs to knock out major grids.
What will seem like an attack on America by terrorists or Russia.
Or a simulated alien invasion, using alien replica vehicles that exist and are already in use.
An alien invasion of the U.S.
The Russians tried to
He said simulated, so it's a false one, just so that it's understood. I believe that they're intending on doing that, to be honest. This is their gentlemanly way of letting the world know we're going to be doing these sort of things, as they have done previously in many accounts, i.e. 9/11, they've done that in many movies prior to 9/11 occurring.
47.
You can't say these things.
I'm going to say them tomorrow.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed these clips. Share it.
Okay, guys, so I guess it ends there. Jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jazaa for your time. I thought this was an interesting clip, and I might as well share it. I know I usually don't really err this way, but someone just brought it to my attention, and I thought it was really interesting because it almost summarizes pretty much what we've been covering in the Science PDF, bar the binary star system, which seems to be at the center of all of this. It's probably the only thing that hasn't been covered in this. And the Antichrist. Anyway, Jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jazaa for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.